Good day, everyone. I'm sorry I can't be with you today. I'm undertaking the mock IO exams with grade 11, and so you will have cover today, but there's still quite a lot of work to get done. So there's a couple of short tasks before we get onto the assessment that I'd like to complete. They should take you sort of 10, 15 minutes, I would say. The first task I'd like you to do is I would like you to complete the table for the whole novel now. So obviously we don't have to comment on Piggy or Simon. We can talk about Ralph and how he's presented in chapter 12. I'd like you to pay particular attention to how sort of feral and how animalistic he is depicted. And then also with Jack, I'd like you to comment on how he's depicted in a very youthful and very boyish way at the end, and the significance of that. Then the second task I'd like you to quickly do is go back to your Freytag triangle, and I'd like you to complete it for the Lord of the Flies. So we know the climax is obviously Simon's death, and then things start to rapidly fall apart. We have the groups split into two tribes, with obviously Jack taking over much more dominantly on the island. We have violence and the stealing of the glasses. We have Piggy's death. We have the death of the conch. The resolution is obviously the end of the conflict between Ralph and Jack, and that requires an external force, a naval officer. And the denouement, do we have a restoration of order? Do things go back to normal at the end of the novel? So you can think about that. And I just want you to put in examples for each of these things and just complete your chart of the whole novel. And again, that'll help you navigate it and pick out good examples for the assessment. So once you've done those two, you should have at least half the lesson left to look at the assessment. Now, the assessment is as follows. You're going to complete your essay, okay? And this is how it's going to look. You're going to have 4 paragraphs in your essay. You're going to have an introduction. You're going to have your first comparative paragraph, which is from your formative assessment. And you can make changes to it and improve it. But the main focus should be on writing your second comparative analysis and then a conclusion, all right? And I will help you go through your introduction and conclusion, but the most important thing, and the thing I want you to focus on first, is your comparative analytical paragraph, your second one. You should continue comparing the same characters from your formative assessment because you've already done all the work on that. All you've got to do is simply select a different comparison, similarity or difference between the two of them. Now, you probably want to focus on the latter part of the book rather than the first part of the book, but that is your choice. If you're having problems and you can't get another comparison, we can discuss about changing characters, but it is a lot more work and it should be a sort of emergency option. You're going to plan in class as we always do, and that's what you're going to be doing today. Obviously, it's the same as before. It should be around 300 words, include either 2 or 4 quotations, and include that developed analysis of the language and techniques. We're going to type it again, and then eventually you're going to read this out, but you don't need to worry about that today. Just a note, though, is that you will be assessed on criteria A, which is analysis, B, organisation, same as before, but you'll also be, this time, assessed on D, which is using language. And that's not just your grammar, but it's also how you speak, because we're going to be recording this, as I said. So the criteria mark scheme is there, and that's on the planning document I've already shared with you. We know the ICS policy on plagiarism. We've been through that several times this year, and the use of AI software. I've shared this with you previously as well, so we should know this very, very well. And you know the consequences of that. The assessment question is the same. How does Golding use characterization to convey different aspects of human nature and compare 2 characters? In your last assessment, you selected 2 characters and made a long list of comparisons. Now you need to select a different comparison. So you've already made one, now you need to make a second. So what you need to do is you need to revisit the list of similarities and differences between your characters and make a different comparison. You don't have to use one from the list. You can create a new one. It's up to you. And that's what I'd like you to focus on today, is making sure you're happy revisiting these things. Look at the similarities and differences between your 2 characters and select a different comparison to make for your second comparative analytical paragraph. Okay. Once you've done that, I would like you to start working on your second comparative point. And if you do that, you can start thinking about evidence and selecting evidence. Okay. And as always, there are examples here. There are some keywords for comparison. And you also have a reminder about selecting good quality evidence and the 3 criteria that makes it a good quote. It proves your point, it's a good length, and it's rich in features that you are confident in analysing. Okay, so you have everything you need to be getting on quietly today. I expect you to be working quietly. You can ask quick questions of Miss, but really you should be working independently. Okay, if you have any questions, we can follow this through on Friday's lesson. But you should be working independently and with focus today. I will ask Miss to keep an eye on you, and obviously I'll follow up if people are not on task. All right. Thank you very much, and I will see you tomorrow, Friday.